Let's talk about the plumb bob, right? Something we talk about a lot in that setup, and this has a lot to do with power, right?
Yeah, so obviously, setting up to the golf ball and getting a good foundation before you start is key. So here we have Rickie Fowler up here, and you can see very evidently, if we kind of look between his feet and we put a line where the club is, and now if you actually looked at
Actually,
this,
what I did,
go ahead.
I actually put a line, it's right where his club is, but it's kind of approximating the center of his stance.
Yeah.
Would you think that's pretty close to center?
Yeah, it's pretty close to center. The camera's a little bit off angle-wise, but
Yeah. So now if I go from the middle of his pelvis and just drop a straight line down.
yes.
Okay, so I'm dropping a line straight down from the middle of his pelvis. Notice the pelvis line is slightly behind the center of his stance.
That's right. That's what we call the plumb bob. So imagine hanging a plumb bob down from the center of Rickie's pelvis. It would hang a little bit back of center.
Now this
especially
is,
with the driver.
and this is really important for the driver. On a wedge, you'd be probably in front of the center of the stance, but this allows the player's pelvic angle and spine angle to get in a great position to get that attack angle, that a positive attack angle that we see with players. Right?
That's right. It helps them load into their trail hip going back so that they've got somewhere to go. So now as they start their transition back, look how the belt buckle leads and keeps rotating through. That's a big key.
Like, take a look. Let me bring up another one here from some of the models here on V1. So here, let me get rid of this here. So look at Bubba Watson. Even if I just took a line from the middle of his belt buckle and went straight down, you can clearly see that, again, it's not a perfect
Camera's
camera,
off a little bit.
but you can see it's back. It's not forward, right?
Yes.
If I were to go to, let me just grab here's Nick Price.
Yeah, so Nick, great ball striker, never been known as a great driver of the ball, was a great iron player, and that's because I think the plumb bob's forward.
Yeah, look at that. So if I were to look at that center of the pelvis, and if I guesstimate, let's say that's probably the center of his stance, it's well in front. That's almost what we would see with a pitching wedge.
Yeah, it is. And Nick was known as a great iron player with compressed the ball, but driver was a little bit down on it, didn't really hit the driver as far as potentially he could.
So one of the keys here, I think, to hitting a good driver, right, which we're all looking for bigger hits, more accurate, put those two together, is the plumb bob. You start with that plumb bob back, you got a great chance. You start forward, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble, yep. Definitely a big key when it comes to that. So go ahead and stop that, Greg. I'm gonna actually jump up here and kind of show you this. So if we get up here, we're just using V1, got it up behind me, and you can see we've been using that with the lines, and I use those all the time. So the plumb bob, again, if I'm gonna hit a driver, I'm gonna step back. I'm looking at the center of my pelvis. So where my belt is, if I drop the line from my belt, you would see that it's more over my trail leg, or the inside of my trail leg, than it is over my lead leg. So anytime I hit an iron, obviously my stance is a little narrower. If I'm hitting an iron or I'm trying to hit a shorter iron, I might actually have my pelvis a little bit more forward.
Plumb bob?
There you go, look at you. So here's an actual plumb bob. So if I put that, just standing tall, center of my stance, okay? With the driver, I don't want this getting forward. With the driver, I want to feel like the plumb bob is actually moved this way. But don't do it by tilting your spine. A lot of people go, oh, you want me to lean backwards, and they tilt their spine. Look at the plumb bob. It's way out in front. That's not good, and that won't make you hit up on it and hit the ball further. So what we want is we want to feel like that plumb bob is centered slightly behind the center of my stance. That gives me the best ability to really load and rotate into my trail leg so that I can move into my lead side and really maximize my driver and hit up on the golf ball.